Yeah. Another one of his myths is that husbands and wives should do everything together. He calls it the total togetherness myth. He said it's very prevalent, probably springs from the myth number two, the romantic fallacy thing, in which the ideal matrimonial union consists of two separate individuals merging into one ecstatic entity. The two lovebirds go everywhere together, do everything together, share everything together. But he says that actually, you can lose self that way. And again, a healthy marriage is a decision to share two selves, two whole selves. Think about how we represent codependency. Two circles that are kind of coming, one over transposing over the other. Well, that's not healthy. That's an unhealthy merging. And there's no choice there. Choice implies I choose. I want to be in a relationship with you. I choose to be in a relationship with you instead of I have to be. I must be in a relationship with you.
Or I have no other choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
A wise sage Macmillan
Oh,
once told me that
oh,
when you
be
do
careful.
everything with everybody all the time, you don't have anything to talk about.
That's
There's
true.
nothing interesting to bring to the table at the end of the day.
That's true. I mean, you each one of the things that makes uh, your relationship interesting is you come home at the end of the day and tell me about your day. Let me tell you about my day, and let me share with you. Do you know who I ran into today? Do you know what she said to me or what he said to me?
Right.
You know what I, you know who, you know what I saw today or heard today. That's good stuff.
Well, you also have to get the chance to be you.
Mm,
To be who you are in any situation throughout the day, not who you are as a couple through that situation during the day. Does that,
yeah,
because, I
yeah,
mean, not that I may react so differently, but when I am with my partner and we are going through things throughout the day, it's different than when I'm alone going through those things throughout the day. I'm going to react differently. I'm going to say different
absolutely,
things. I'm going to be different.
absolutely. So what you're saying is I'm going to be me,
Yeah,
and I'm going
got
to
to be
come home,
me.
and I'm going to come home, and I'm going to share me with you. Yeah, and now we're a we.
Yes, there you
I
go.
love it. We're talking about myths of marriage. When we come back, there's a compelling myth that he talks about trust. We're going to tackle it
Ooh.
when we come back.
The bright red Georgia clay, how it stuck to the tires.
Smart. Then I went to ZipRecruiter. It's
And welcome back. Welcome back into Strategies for Living, Marriage, and Family Therapist David McMillan, PLPC, Carla McCormick. We're talking about marital myths. Dr. Arnold Lazarus wrote this book many years ago as a gift to his daughter and son-in-law at their marriage, and we're able. There's 24 of these myths, and we're not obviously going to cover many of them at all, but we're covering some of the biggies,
The highlights.
Yeah. Now this one, I want to see kind of what you think
Uh-oh.
about this one, because this myth is interesting, and it goes this way: a happy marriage requires total trust. Lazarus says that's a myth. He says anything taken to excess tends to be unfortunate. If one is too tall, too thin, too clever, too fussy, the implication is that one would be better off with less of that particular attribute. Being too trusting, for example, can prove disastrous. He tells a story on himself. He says, when I was in college, one of my friends was a second-year medical student named Gary, who had been married for about 6 months. I noticed Gary's wife spent a lot of time in the company of a particular young man, and I commented to my friend that he may be asking for trouble. His friend said, "Oh, come on now. Mike and I have been pals for years. I have a lot of studying to do, so why should I expect Sue to sit at home and twiddle her thumbs?" I asked Mike if he would mind entertaining Sue a few nights a week. This way, she gets to go see movies, goes to parties, and I don't feel guilty about studying. I pointed out that Mike was good-looking, well-off financially. He had joined his wealthy father in business, and far too available. And Gary insisted that he trusted both Mike and Sue implicitly. Alas, after a very short time, Sue informed Gary that she and Mike had fallen in love, and she was asking for a divorce. Another and more personal vignette goes back to Lazarus's early years of his own marriage. My wife and I moved into a new house. I returned home from work to find a gentleman enjoying a drink with my wife in the living room. "This is Charles," she said. "He lives 4 houses down and came over to welcome us to the neighborhood." How very kind and thoughtful. I chatted with Charles, offered him another beer, and when he left, thanked him for his good neighborliness. When I returned home the next day to find Charles in my home again, I decided there and then that he was abusing the welcome wagon. I told him so in no uncertain terms. Whether or not anything might have developed between Charles and my wife is beside the point. Those of us who don't believe in blind or total trust prefer to nip potential trouble in the bud. Now, that might go against the grain of what some people, again, I guess that's why it's a myth. That, what do you think about that? Heavy sigh.
Yeah, I do think. I think if I don't trust my partner and there's no trust in the relationship, then, what kind of relationship is it? But at the same token, if there are things that make me feel uncomfortable or I begin to feel, jealous or whatever the case may be, I think I have a right to say, hey, this makes me feel uncomfortable.
Maybe it's the excess. If we think of trust among many things that make for a successful and happy relationship,
right?
Maybe trust is one. Maybe honesty is one. Maybe shared intimacy is one. Maybe forgiveness is one. There are perhaps many that we could come up with. But if we think of these scaled on a 0 to 10 scale, then or 1 to 10 scale, I would argue that let's zero in and pick on trust. That the trust level of a 1 can be problematic, but also the trust level of a 10 could be problematic. If I say to myself, there is no condition in which my wife, my mate, my girlfriend could cheat on me. There's just absolutely no way. I trust her 100%. I would contend that that's a setup for me to take her for granted. Then I'm not going to pay attention and do the things that I need to be doing on an ongoing basis to take care of my end of the relationship.
So
I'm saying that
you take her for granted.
I would take it's a setup for it doesn't mean that it would happen, but it's a setup that it creates the possibility of it happening where I take her for granted. And so I don't pay attention to to perhaps even the little things that I need to pay attention to. That makes sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, and I would agree.
And the other end, and I think you're covering that. Well, down at the half level, or the 0 level, or the 1 level, well, that can be a problem too. But if I strive to keep that trust level, somewhere in the mid range, maybe 6, 7, and we are committed on an ongoing basis to, working that and working that together, then that can be a positive thing.
And I think the trust level has to be the same. You can't trust me at a level of 8 and me trust you at a level of 2.
Yeah, we have to have ongoing conversation about that. Myth number 8 is good spouses should make their partners happy.
No, I can't make you anything.
Yeah, there you go. One of the most unfortunate errors that many people make is to assume and accept responsibility for other people's feelings. It's my fault that Herman is unhappy. I just don't know how to be a good enough wife for him. I would do anything to make Martha happy, but whatever I do seems to have the opposite effect.
If I wouldn't have made him so mad, he wouldn't have had to hit me.
Yeah.
That's where you go with that.
There you go. There you go. Myth number 9. In good marriages, husbands and wives, let it all hang out.
Oh, I'm conjuring up so many gross images.
Yeah. And treat your spouse with at least as much respect as you would afford a perfect stranger. So what you just did a minute ago, would you do that in front of a perfect stranger? Well, then why are you doing it in front of your wife or your husband?
Right.
Yeah.
And that goes back to respect.
Yeah. Displaced aggression is responsible for a large percentage of unhappy marriages. This is good stuff. Myth number 10. This is probably an older one. Good husbands do household repairs. Good wives do the laundry.
Throw that one out. I'm scratching that one. When did he write this book? 1960 something?
He says marital distress often comes from clear-cut his and hers household expectations and demarcations. And I think we have probably come a ways towards this since the book was written. But we, even in the 21st century, even in 2018, I'm going to say we still have, and I'm saying this based on my work in my counseling room with couples within the last 3 years. We still have a ways to go here. We're not as
progressed as we think we are.
Yeah.
Well, and I thought about that in the beginning when you were talking about making your list of what you want, what your perfect spouse would look like, your perfect partner would look like, and I would venture to say that many would say, a wife who cooks a hot meal, and I come home to a hot meal, a clean home, that's still on.
What's wrong with me cooking a hot meal? What's wrong with me cleaning the home?
Well, I think that there is still some of that, and I don't know if it's a Southern thing or what the deal is, but I think there's still some of that.
Yeah, and I agree with you, and I think we have to continue to say, it's a negotiation. What is our particular circumstances? Maybe I'm a better cook.
Well,
maybe I'm a better floor vacuumer. I don't know.
Well, and then the social norms of, the man is supposed to make more than the wife.
Right.
Right. That's one of those, he's supposed to bring home the bacon kind of deal.
You fry it up in the pan.
and I know of several relationships where the wife makes way more than the husband.
Myth number 13, marriage can fulfill all your dreams.
Make your wildest dreams come true.
Even in this age of enlightenment and emancipation, there are many people who consider marriage a crowning achievement, a notable sign of success. To be married carries a special status in the minds of these individuals. But it's not going to fulfill all your dreams. That's stacking the deck against it from the beginning. A mature person's message is, I can live with or without you. I much prefer to live with you because I love you. I hope that you feel the same way about me.
But if you go away, I will be okay.
Yeah. Immature attachments lead to a very different statement. That would be, you're mine and I'm never going to let you go. That ain't marriage.
That's possession.
That's something else, yeah. Talking marital myths today here on Strategies.
She looks in the mirror and stares at the wrinkles that weren't there yesterday.
There she was, just walking down the street singing.
And welcome back. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. How'd you like the way I said it? Strategies for Living?
Your redneck showing.
Yeah. Marriage and family therapist Dave McMillan and PLPC Carla McCormick. We are talking about marital myths today. This book, I think, has been Dr. Lazarus, unfortunately, is no longer with us. But the book was republished by Impact Publishers within the last few years, and it's entitled Marital Myths Revisited, a fresh look at 24 mistaken beliefs about Marriage, Dr.
I'm
Arnold
gonna get
Lazarus.
that book.
Good stuff, real good stuff, and we'll do more on it. But he has a marital satisfaction questionnaire where he throws out some questions, and he asks you to rate this from 0 to 10. So 10 would be I'm very pleased. 0 would be I'm not pleased. I'm pleased with the amount of time we talk to each other. I'm happy with the friends we share in common. I'm satisfied with our sex life. I'm in agreement with the amount of time you or we spend at work and at home. I'm in agreement with the way we're spending money. I'm pleased with the kind of parent you are. And this refers to the way your spouse interacts with the children. I'm of the opinion that you are on my team. I'm pleased with our leisure time together, sports, vacations, outings. I'm basically in agreement with your outlook on life, your values, your attitudes, your religious beliefs, your politics. I'm generally pleased with the way that you relate to members of your own family. I'm satisfied with the way that you relate to members of my family. And I'm pleased with your general habits, mannerisms, or overall appearance. So those 12 questions you rate 0 to 10, add them up. He says 84 or more means you've got a very good marriage. 72 to 83, it's satisfactory to good. 61 to 71, you need some basic changes. If below 60, go get help.
Work on it.
Work on it. Go get help because you got work to do. Good stuff.
That is really good stuff.
So yesterday we realized that we hadn't done so much on marriage, so we've done a couple of programs now on marriage. We'll do more. We got to do more of this.
The takeaway from yesterday is that marriages evolve. There's stages of marriage.
Yeah.
And then today was that there are a lot of myths.
There are, and you can make a good marriage. You can make a healthy marriage with another person, but you've got to both get on the same page. You got to both, be dedicated to putting the energy into it. It's not just going to happen.
One thing I've realized is that people who have healthy marriages and have good relationships in their marriage pretty much have good relationships in all areas of their life.
It's healthy.
It's a
skill.
Healthy.
Yes, very, very much so. Good wrap. Good point.
Thank you.
Folks, thank you for tuning in to Strategies for Living. We've been brought to you by CADA, Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse of Northwest Louisiana. Also by Jerry Anderson, State Farm Insurance, by Learning RX, by Highland Place Rehab and Nursing Center, by Jacob's Well, Inspirational Books and Gifts, and by Resilient House. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call that you could make, who would you call? What would you say? And why are you waiting? Make the call. For Reuben Wright, for PLPC Carla McCormick, I'm marriage and family therapist David McMillan. See you next time on Strategies for Living.